We're going to look at exercise 611. This problem is all about if you make more than one product and now you have additional resources. So let's say we were making as many of our products A, B, and C, right? They don't give us any specific product, but we're making as many of these A, B, and C products as we could with the resources we had. But now we've got a new machine or something like that. Now we can make more. And so we want to determine which product does it make sense to put the resource in, since we have now more time in which to make the product. So if all things were considered equal, if all the machines, if all the products took the same amount of time per, the same amount of time in the use of the machine to make, then it'd be easy. You would go with A because you get the most contribution margin. Sales minus variable cost gives you contribution margin. But what if some of the products you make take more time than others? So you might make more per unit, but it takes you more time to make that unit. Then now it gets a little bit more complicated. Now this is a simple example, but what we want to do is we want to just say, well, instead of just figuring out contribution margin, let's figure out contribution margin per unit of limited resource, which is this case per machine hour. So contribution margin per limited resource, this case per unit of machine hours. Right? So just take the contribution margin and divide by the limited resource, in this case the machine hours. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. So $3 per unit. So $3 per unit of limited resource. So just say $3. This gets $2, right? So 2 divided by 1. So, and here's 3 divided by 2. And we get 1.5. And then all you do is you go with the higher of the 3. And in this case, instead of going with the higher contribution margin, since they take different amounts, you go with the higher contribution margin per unit of machine hours. So in this case, it's A. And that's all you do is you know to use A because it's got the highest. You don't go by this row, you go by this row. If we look at another example of limited resource problem, look at brief exercise 611, we see that they don't tell us the selling and variable cost, but what they do tell us is the contribution margin. So we have to start from there, and that's fine. And then they tell us that product A uses 2 hours from the machine to make a product A, and product B uses 3. So that means that we can't just go with A right off the bat. We have to first see how this increased number of resources that are needed for each product affects, and this is 12, sorry, affects this analysis. So we get contribution margin, right? So that's what we have left after our variable cost of 10, and product B is 12. Takes 2 hours to make the A product, but it takes 3 hours to make the B product. So it takes more time to make the B product. That means that if we got more another machine or some more time to use the machines, then it would cost, then we could make $5 per unit in contribution margin if we go with A versus 4. So even though B makes more in contribution margin, it takes us significantly longer time to make one of the B's. So we're based on the amount of extra time we have, we should put that extra machine time usage into making the A product. Again, you go with the higher of the contribution margin per unit of limited resources. Don't go with just the contribution on its own. And that's how you work these limited resource problems.